All right, moving on. I don't know about this building right over here. It's got blue flickering lights at the top of it. And sometimes they can change the color of them lights every once in a while. Past Cherry Street right here. It's a Field M in Fort Worth. I'll turn off this way. Down that way is where some of the other artwork is, in the middle of the roundabout. There's that artwork I was talking about right there on the roundabout. And you'll see the lights underneath the bridges coming up here in a minute. Real nice and the extra work they did in Fort Worth. Let's see right there. There's some of the lights under there. And they got more lights under the bridge over there. Man, I'll tell you what, they spent a little pretty penny fixing them bridges up. Looks real nice. They got them lights going on the side of the handrail. That way when you're walking across this bridge or whatever, you don't feel all scared or anything. Got lights lighting your way. There's some of it right there. Isn't that nice? Isn't that something? Put on some of that Peter Gabriel, In Your Eyes. It's a real nice song. All right. Well, got myself a packet of mustard, corn dog. Did you know they actually have corn dog eating contests? They do. They don't eat as many corn dogs as regular hot dogs because the stuff that surrounds the hot dog, the corn meal, it fills their stomach quicker. So they can't eat as many. If you know the world record of how many corn dogs a person has eaten and how fast they ate them, let me know. It's also Diet Coke. I'm just joking. Try a little mustard on it. The floor in there in that racetrack, the floor in there in that racetrack smells so good. Pine Sol. I executed a guy the other night in Texas. Pretty sad. I'm not really for capital punishment, but I understand some of it. But you know, there's a lot of people that do murder and they don't really get capital punishment. I don't know why. I'm not really for it, but then again, it kind of, in a way, is kind of protection because people may be so miserable that they won't care. They spend the rest of their life, you know, in prison for murder. They may not care. But they don't like, people don't like the death penalty. It's creepy. They're like, you know, kind of, they talk about it, it's like clinical or something. They say that the death row chamber smells like pine sol. They have to find a vein. A lot of times those prisoners have been on death row for so long they can't even find a vein. There was a guy that was on death row in the South, not in Texas, but his name was Damien Echols. He was proven by DNA innocent. He was one of the Memphis 3, and he was on death row. He used to do breathing exercises. I heard an interview with him. He was actually innocent. They thought he was like this Satanist kind of person. He listened to Metallica and stuff like that. He had a baby. He wrote a book. He wrote a book about it. And does podcasts. There's been people on death row. They've got off of it, but all right. So the next big project is I want to eventually try to see Blood Simple. It's by Joel and Ethan Cohen. Heard a lot of stuff on it on YouTube. It was their first picture. They knew Sam Raimi, the guy who made Evil Dead, and so they both went to film school together. I don't know where they went. I don't know what film school they went to, but so they make this trailer and they use the star of the guy in Evil Dead. I can't think of his name, but I know about him because when I was on set with Jim Carrey in The Majestic, I think they used him in the fake movie called The Sand Pirates of Sahara that we were watching in the Chinese theater. I was one of the theater patrons. I stood shoulder to shoulder with Jim Carrey. But in the scene, you just see me walk behind the sign called Sand Pirates of Sahara. Well, that lead actor was in Evil Dead. And he was also in Ethan and Joel Coen's trailer for Blood Simple. He's the guy that spills out of the car when the shot goes over the car and the guy has the shovel and he hits the guy in the head or whatever. Anyway, he's in that. So they used like this really well-known actor for the trailer, and they had a really tight trailer. I don't know how long it was, but it was in 35 millimeter, and they condensed it to 16 millimeter, and they knocked on people's door. And they were like, can we come in and show you this trailer? You know, be like a neurologist or someone that had money. And they were like, sure. And they'd sit down, they'd play the little movie in their living room. They'd talk to them about the movie, and they'd get investors. They did this over and over and over again until they got $500,000. Then they began the movie. And they hired Emmett Walsh to play the evil private detective guy in it. Anyway, it looks like a pretty cool movie. I've never got to see it though, but everyone always talks about it to me all the time. They're like, gotta see this movie, gotta see this movie, gotta see Blood Simple. So I did watch this like version where they do kind of like these people reacting to the movie as it's happening on YouTube, because they got like 16,000 views. So they're watching the movie and then they're like reacting to it. And you can see parts of the movie playing like on a green screen behind them. So I got to see kind of like the pattern of the movie. I see kind of what they did. They made kind of a simple movie about violence, and they sold it on violence and just kind of like this noir kind of thing set in Texas. It was shot in Austin. Really, it's a surprise that I haven't seen it, because it's like a Texas film, and I'm in Texas. So I'm gonna see that and kind of look at it. And I thought about maybe putting Grace aside, because I'm thinking, man, this is a big film, and I don't know if it'd be a good first film. And what I thought about doing is starting this whole new idea about a film, about some of the stuff that I've been kind of going through, and maybe having kind of like not like Blood Simple per se, I'm not going to rip them off, but something that you could do with a few actors and using, you know, the only thing that I don't want to work with, and I'm kind of like Christopher Nolan on this on the following, I don't really want to work with guns, because for one thing, they're expensive. You have to worry about blanks. And that's the kind of stuff I don't want to work with until I have like the biggest professional crew or it. So I'm gonna have to ride around where you don't use that. It's gonna be like maybe a thriller, or like a noir crime thriller kind of thing, you know, kind of like kind of Pulp Fiction a little bit. Not like Pulp Fiction that was written by Quentin Tarantino, but the idea of Pulp Fiction, meaning the noir, you know, the noir black and white. Maybe even shoot it black and white or something. But don't use, I'm not gonna worry about 35 millimeter. I'm just gonna use the phone, and then maybe I have a Zoom. So a Zoom is like a recorder, it's a digital recorder. I use it sometimes like a boom mic. But I could start with using the Zoom once I get the MacBook Pro. So nothing's gonna be started until after November, because I have to get the MacBook Pro first to go forward on this project I did. And I may condense the actors or the cast down to like 3 or 4 people or something. And then maybe I might, you know, if I have to use extras or something, I might pay them like $20 a day or something like that, where I could hire them on backstage if I had to do like a sequence where there's other people in the background. But what I could do is just do a trailer, no more than 10 minutes, and make it very tight and make it kind of scenes from the movie. And then I could go to people that I think might be investors, and I could knock on their door. I don't even have to have a projector. All I have to do is go, hey, I have a link to a movie. Do you have, you know, are you on online? Do you have internet? Is your internet connected to your television? Okay. Well, I'd like to come in and sit down with you and watch this trailer that I made, you know, on your TV. And then we could talk about investing in it and possibly turning that trailer into a movie, or possibly do a 10-minute short. Because if I do a 10-minute short, it's like a condensed version of the movie. So I might try to do that, because I am obsessed with movies and movie making and editing and all that kind of stuff. I just love the process of it, and I think it would be a good, like, long time career for me, something to keep my mind busy. So for some ideas I have is there's a delivery driver, and he's got this cat, and of course he's in this relationship with this hot chick, and say he like owes some money to the government, so he's kind of shady a little bit. So he starts like creating this like vlog. His cat's involved, things like that. And so that's kind of like a start. And then like kind of like a play, like that's something about the movie The Player. So he gets like this message. You know, Robert Altman's a player, and he doesn't know where the message is coming from, but it kind of makes him paranoid. It's like a message on his vlog, but he can't trace it because, well, for one thing, he's not like that great of a hacker, and you have to hire someone to trace it to find out if it's like a real threat. You know, it kind of closes his vlog down, kind of thing, that kind of thing. And everyone likes his cat. There's all these people that watch the vlog and his cat. You know, like everyone like watches Jordan the Lion and his dog. This is about like a, kind of like a, maybe almost like a prequel or like a side movie to Vlogger versus Vlogger, which I think is also a really big idea. Like too big. Like a lot of my ideas are too big right now. So this is like about a vlogger. He's got a cat and this really hot lady. They hang out. And then he doesn't really know where the message is coming from, but he like has to hire this other hacker, and they try to hack this thing, and then maybe the hacker guy, something happens to him, you know. And then I don't want to like people getting shot and all that stuff. I want to kind of like find something else happens to him, like he gets poisoned or something like that. Goes missing, something, you know. Like, what happened to that dude? You know, that kind of thing. And then, like, you know, he has to, like, I don't know, just kind of make it kind of cool and kind of creepy, and like worry about aesthetics, and you know how like David Lynch's some of the Twin Peaks episodes and stuff, they're not really about a whole lot, you know, sometimes, but there's like the characters are established. So there could be like an otherworldly kind of thing connected. Like something his cat does, or maybe he comes home and like there's like a missing pipe or something. You know, I don't know. Like kind of like I came home and I thought maybe the cat did it or something. Maybe it's not necessarily a missing pipe, you know, in the plumbing, but it's like something weird that the cat could not have done this kind of thing. You know, someone would come in, that kind of weird thing, you know. It deals with like paranoia and stuff. And so he's like slowly becoming kind of like famous, you know, kind of like Blowout a little bit. You know, Blowout, John Travolta's character wasn't exactly famous, but he was working around an industry that was, and they were doing like cheap, stupid kind of like horror films. Well, this would be like a guy doing like a vlog, and the potential of it maybe taking off is always kind of there. like potentially the vlog could take off like at any moment. He's maybe going to like theme parks, whatever, and then he finds this one message and it bothers him, so he wants to like trace it, find out what is this like the the guy someone threatens him or something. So then from there, and he's always coming up with these ideas for like movies and stuff, even though he's vlogging. So he's got like that whole player, the player, the screenplay guy was being threatened because of his ideas, because of his screenplay, because that's possibly worth money. So there's a sense of power underneath it, that's kind of cool. And then like, we go from there. And I build from there, and I get some note cards, and I start drawing some maps and trying to figure out where to go, maybe try a scene, and then just kind of like just put it together and get some characters. I can get one character that's like, maybe like a private detective. I like that stalk character, Look at this guy. Golly. He's going like 120, man. Well, I'm going 56 right here. Or about 55. But like I like the private detective idea. I like that, that there's spying involved and all that kind of stuff. I think that would be cool. Hang on, let me look at something. Whoops. I'm trying to figure something out. Oh, there we go. So, he's kind of doing it to maybe like protect himself. Maybe he was previously married, that kind of thing. So he gets like a makeshift PI that doesn't have like all the legality aspects of it, but helps him out and gives him some information. So then that leads to something that's a bigger thing, right? That we can handle on a low budget. And I don't want to bring like guns involved necessarily, because I think that enters a different level of filmmaking. But I liked what Christopher Nolan did with The Following, that there was this underground thing, in The Following, it's black and white, and there's an underground thieves circle kind of thing, and then they used a hammer because he wanted to stay away from guns for like his first big his first big feature, is what I meant to say, feature or picture or whatever, movie. So it could be creative in that aspect. Whether I'm going to bring in like mafioso kind of thing, I don't really know if Christopher Nolan really did that with The Following. I guess he kind of did. There was like a shady underground thing, but they weren't like a big organized crime. Just like in Blue Velvet, Frank Booth is an evil character. It's not necessarily otherworldly, but yet it's like almost demonic, and it's connected to a small evil group, like whoever Frank Booth knew, for whatever reason, he wasn't like this big kind of like mobster kind of guy. He was just a dark, shady, evil character, I like that idea. And that's kind of how The Following was a little bit, they weren't like, I couldn't really understand exactly if they were an underground group or whatever they were, but I think there might be some like underworld or like otherworldly kind of maybe a little bit in it too. So it's not exactly Twin Peaks, it's not that far out, but there may be some kind of like otherworldly thing attached, and the cat might be involved, because I try to do that a little bit with Grace. But what I'm gonna have to do with Grace is like, I don't mind finishing it up, and if I want to add this whole thing with the filmmakers and stuff, but I wouldn't be able to do that as a first picture, not on my own. I wouldn't, and I can do a first picture with the MacBook Pro. So what I'm trying to do is condense things, use some of the ideas I have, kind of make it more simple dialogue, so the actors don't have to memorize as much. I mean, Grace, aka Werevlog, is a big photo. It's a big picture. It's a big feature, is what I'm trying to say. I keep saying photo for some reason, but it's a big picture. It's a big movie. So anyway, I'm gonna have to like do a lot of thinking, a lot of simplifying, a lot of dumbing things down, keeping it simple, so I can cast from backstage, bring in some actors. Payment wise, sometimes they'll work for $20. Sometimes actors will work for $50, sometimes $100. You have to put it on backstage. The thing about backstage that they get mad about is if you don't pay up, then they flag you. So I'll have to get some type of budget where
if I am going to pay the actors and we are going to try to do something, I have to put my money where my mouth is, you know. I can't just be like, well, hey, you know, I might can pay you this amount this time, you know. That's kind of what I did with The Projectionist, and we didn't get that far, you know. I tried to make a deal with Natalie Jones, but she was already working on like 3 or 4 sets, and they were doing like pretty big pictures. There were still indie pictures. It wasn't like she was working for Paramount, but she was still doing like pictures. Sorry, I keep saying the word photo. Movies. She was doing movies, independent movies. I keep saying the word photo for some reason. I don't know why. It's like weird. She was doing independent movies. You know, and so she would, you know, and I tried to say, well, listen, every time you show up, I'll try to pay you something, you know, and still she wouldn't show up. So I'm probably going to keep it like very simple. Use actors that'll agree to be paid, you know, a certain amount. That's the hardest thing. People don't like to necessarily work for free, you know. So we'll have to wait. Getting a budget. So, but this is what I'm going to really focus on is like a trailer. What I'm going to focus on is not necessarily trying to make the whole movie like right now. What I want to do is try to make a good 10-minute trailer and maybe use 2 to 3 actors, right? And then sell that and get investors on with that. Do a really good job for 10 minutes on something that looks every shot planned out, make it look exciting. Maybe use a crane, maybe, I don't know what kind of equipment I can use. I don't mind using an iPhone, that's okay. Then taking that and getting the link and then finding investors and then seeing if I can take off so then we could try to make an indie film. And then hopefully that would make money and I could pay back the investors and make another one. And then make another one and make another one and keep it, and then do the whole chain reaction. All right? So right under the red light.